Welcome to the 10-Minute Dose. Our speaker for today is Rabbi Eliezer Langer. His topic, Beyond the Letter of the Law. Rabbi Langer.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to participate in this Torah learning for the Refuah Shlema of Rabbi Yisrael ben Malka. A very famous story is told about the great Rosh Yeshiva, Rav Hutner, that at the time when he was very sick, he told all of his students, do not pray for me alone. It is always to be Soch She'ar Chalu Yisrael. I ask also that you keep in mind Shira Tova Bas Esther Yafa for a Refuah Shlema. I'd like to spend a few minutes with you on the topic of beyond the letter of the law. All too often, we think that things are overboard, that people are doing too much. I'd like to share with you today a few items from the Gemara, a number of very interesting sections of the Talmud, which speak about the issue of doing more or doing less, and to see whether we can come with some kind of conclusion from it. The Gemara in Bava Metzia, Daf Chav Daled Amud Beis, page 24b, tells us that once Rav Yehuda was walking behind Mar Shmuel in the street, and as a student would ask his teacher, tell me something, what would happen if somebody would find a money purse over here? What should be done? Mar Shmuel answered and said, it would belong to the finder. It's a public place, something lost over there can't be identified, and therefore it belongs to the finder. He then asked him, what would happen if a Jew would come along and give a simon, give an identification mark? So Mar Shmuel answered and said he'd have to return it. The student says, Tarti, is it possible that both of these things that you're saying are correct? First you tell me he may keep it, and then afterwards you tell me he should return it. So he answered and said, this is going lifnim mishura sadin, which is generally translated as beyond the requirements of the law. And the Gemara tells us that once the father of Shmuel found some donkeys in the desert, and he returned them to the owner after 12 months. Why? Because he went lifnim mishura sadin, normally translated beyond the letter of the law. Another Gemara tells us in Baba Kama that there was a woman who once brought some coins to show Rav Chia to ask if these coins were good coins. He was a money changer, an expert in the coins, and he told her that they were good coins. She came back to him later and said to him, I showed these coins to someone else and they said that they weren't good coins. And in fact, I couldn't pass them. I couldn't use it. So he told Rav, go ahead, write down that this was a bad deal and pay her for it. The Gemara asks, why should he have to do this? Why should he be any different than Danko and Yisr, two people who were experts, and generally experts had a specific reason that they didn't have to pay, and he likewise, Rabbi Chia, should not have to pay. The Gemara answers and says on the principle that we learned taught by Rabbi Yosef, that when it tells us in the Torah, we'll soon read it, V'odata lahem, tell them, as haderech yelchu ba as hamaaser asher ya'asun, teach them, show them the way that they should go. He says that each one of the words here teaches us something. V'odata lahem, teach them, this is how to conduct their lives. As haderech, the road, this refers to milas chasadim, acts of kindness. Yelchu bo, Yelchu, they should go. This refers to Bikur Cholim, visiting the sick. Ba, in it, refers to Kvura, burial. As Hama'aseh, the action, that refers to Din, strict law. Asher Ya'asun, that should be done. Zulifnim Mishur Sadin, this is what we translate now as beyond the letter of the law. That is, Rabbi Chia was acting here, Lifnim Mishur Sadin, beyond the letter of the law. Apparently not necessary, but he chose to do so. The Gemara has another very interesting case. A man sold a plot of land, and in these times, people didn't sell land unless they were in desperate circumstances. And a person selling his land found himself destitute without his place to call home. Gemara says that if a man sold a plot of land, and afterwards he found that he no longer needed the money, may the sale be withdrawn or not. Gemara says, come, let me tell you an incident that happened, that a man sold a plot of land to Rav Papa because he was in need of money to buy some oxen. and it turned out later that he didn't need it. And what happened was, the Gemara tells us that Rav Papa actually returned the land to him. So Gemara says, you can't prove anything from this case. You can't prove whether or not the sale can be withdrawn. You're talking here about Rav Papa. Rav Papa, when he acted over here and did give him back the land, may very well have acted, the Gemara says, lifnim mishura sadin, beyond the strict requirements of the law. Another case, the Gemara in Tel Baba Metzia, Daf Lamed Amud Beis, tells us a very, very interesting story. It tells us that Rabbi Yishmael Rabbi Yossi, one of the great Kohanim, was walking together with Rabbi Yossi, he was walking in the road, and when he came out, he was someplace far away apparently from the city, and he saw a man that was there, and he was collecting pieces of wood sticks for firewood. He then took that bundle, which was very heavy. I know it sounds like Hillel, but it was not he. He takes that bundle, puts it down and rests, and he sees Rabbi Yishmael, Rabbi Yossi, standing over there. And he says to Rabbi Yishmael, Rabbi Yossi, help me lift up this bundle and put it back on my shoulder. Rabbi Yishmael says to him, how much is this worth? So the man says it's worth a half a zuz. So Rabbi Yishmael gives him half a zuz and says that this is hefker. Rabbi Yishmael really didn't need that wood. He just wanted to help out this person, so he bought it from him. He didn't want it. He said, it's hefker, it's ownerless. Anyone who wants it can take it. The person who was in the business of carrying wood and later selling it lifts up the wood, acquires it again, and says to him, give me a hand. Help me load it up. Again, then Rabbi Yishmael gives him the half zuz, and he says that it's hefker, ownerless. Anyone who wants it can take it. He sees that the other man is about to pick it up again, and obviously he's found a new business. Instead of carrying all the wood to the city, he can actually just lift it up, ask Rabbi Yishmael to help him, and each time Rabbi Yishmael gives him a half a zuz, and he says to him, nope, it's hefker for everybody besides you. Gemara then, as an aside, discusses, is such a thing possible? Is it possible to make something ownerless for everyone except for one person or not? But leave that aside for a moment, and we'll return back to our topic. The Gemara says Rabbi Yishmael, Rabbi Yossi didn't have to help him at all, because there's a principle that certain people are not obligated in certain actions. At times when there is what we would call a chesed, a kindness being done for other people, there are certain people who, because of their stature, are free from that. For example, if you lost $1 on the street and the Chafetz Chaim was walking by, would you want the Chafetz Chaim to have to bend down, pick up the money, and start looking for you? You free him really from doing that. Here, likewise, also the Gemara says that Rabbi Yishmael, Rabbi Yossi was a zaken. He was an elder. It was undignified for him to do that, to help schlep this. The Gemara says, yes, you're right. He didn't have to buy it. He could have said, no, it's not for me. But he did, lifnim mishura sadin, beyond the letter of the law. I have a good friend, Reb Shalom Gold, who lives in Yerushalayim, and he gave an explanation of all of these things together, that lifnim doesn't mean beyond. Lifnim, panim means inward, inside of. Lifnim mishura sadin means inside of, under the letter of the law. In each one of the cases that we've mentioned, the person actually is free from doing it. But instead of making themselves free, they take upon themselves to actually do it. The person didn't have to pay back for the money changing. The person wouldn't have to give back the purse. He was free, but others were not, and therefore he wanted to be like everyone else and not free himself when others were involved in doing a mitzvah. Likewise, we should take that upon ourselves to be able to join together with others in doing a mitzvah, in studying Torah, in learning for the schus, the merit of those who need a refuah shlema. May it come b'mheir b'yameinu. Amen.
Thank you, Rabbi Langer, for your inspirational words. Tomorrow we will continue and resume at 3:07 p.m. Central Standard Time. Have a great day.